Good afternoon. Welcome to the tea table. I'm so happy you've joined me today. And we are still in the wonderful month of April. And we have entered spring. And I don't know how it is where you live, but we have been having glorious April showers. And then sun breaks. And then very cold. And then warming up. A lot of drama, and March is drama with the rainbows and the clouds and the wind and the sun breaks. It's an exciting, beautiful time of year, and everything is beginning to spring forth and bud. And I brought to the tea table a beautiful pink hydrangea that I received at Eastertide. Actually on Easter Day. And then I have this wonderful, if you can see it here, let's see, Easter lily that has a lot of buds on it. This is tricky getting everything on the screen, but there it is. I'm going to move it back so we don't have an accident here. But I have it in a wonderful blue and white pot. And it's so beautiful. And I have been writing poetry. I feel like spring brings brand new on so many levels. So later on the Tea Talk today, I'm going to read you one of my poems. And I've been basically getting a poem a day. So I have to carefully choose one for you. So I'm going to put my little poem down for now. And if you haven't gotten your tea yet, please pause, get your tea, and I'll be waiting right here for you. Well, I'm wearing pink. I just felt pink, pink, pink. I can't get enough pink. And I love the soft baby pink. And so for my tea tray today, I have chosen really soft pink and then a beautiful gold cup with pink. And this I'm going to show you because the sugar bowl is so big in this set. It has the dogwood. So I'm not actually using the sugar bowl, but I put it on the tray. The creamer is just a nice size. Let's pull this up. Got the beautiful dogwood, and it's on a very soft pink backdrop. And for the cup, I just thought I would choose a really beautiful gold and pink cup for today because I don't have a cup that actually matches this beautiful dogwood, but I will show you something that the dogwood has with it. I just have 3 pieces. I have this square tray and then the creamer and the sugar. And so they kind of sit on my tea cart. And I thought what I could do is show you this fabulous dessert and put it on this plate for now. And we are having strawberry cream shortcake. And this was part of my birthday cake that my children brought me and sang happy birthday on Easter Sunday because we were all together, and it was very nice. It makes the birthday last longer. And then I just put this nice beautiful rose on my tea tray, and so we'll let that sit right here. Just can't get enough flowers, can we? They're just so lovely this time of year. And so this is, I'm sharing with you strawberry cream cake. How is that? It's nice to use these wonderful berries. And I'll put this little plate over here. Just don't have enough room here for all of it. But I am going to pour out. And so why don't you take your cup and pour out with me, okay? We'll pour out together. This is wonderful tea. This is tea from England. And, you know, we say it's from England. It's packaged in England, but actually it doesn't grow in England, does it? No. It grows in Africa and Saudi Arabia and in the southern hemisphere. That's where the tea grows. So let's try our tea. Oh, that's delicious. Very nice indeed. I think you've gotten to see this enough. So I think I will put this over here on the side so we can have a little more room on the tea tray. And I just think it's such a wonderful time of year. And I almost thought of going outside today because when the sun breaks here in Washington State, it's so beautiful. You think, oh, I can go out. And then you turn around and there comes the drizzle again, the rain. So no, it's not time to go out yet. Not yet. I'm going to move this forward a little bit so I can move forward to you a little bit today. And I can see you just a little bit better there. So I'm inside in front of my fireplace, and I have behind me, you can see the Last Supper. It's in a white carved. I don't know if you can quite see it. I'll lean that way for a minute. So all of my mantle behind me, I put for Easter white and gold. And it just, I love that pure. I often used to use lavender. Let me just show you. See, that all the white flowers, there they are. Just don't have quite enough room on this camera to pour the tea, have the full backdrop, so you have to use your imagination. But, so we're going to just go like this now. There we go. And it is just so nice to be with you. And as I said, I've been writing this poetry. Now, let me see. Here's my glasses. And the poems that have come are very interesting. They're very different. And I'm going to see if I can pull one up for you right now. And what I've discovered, and this has been really great, is I have been putting my poems on my phone as I write them, because sometimes I will write in the middle of the night. I get an idea. Now, Easter in the church calendar, you know, there's 40 days leading up to Easter, right? That's Lent. And then we have Monday, Thursday, Good Friday, Holy Saturday, and Easter. Well, for people that observe the church calendar, Easter goes for 50 days until the Feast of Pentecost. Penti in Greek means 5. And Pentecost is the Feast of 5. You know, you have the Pentagon, that's 5. That's where that comes from. So there's 50 days. So I thought, you know, people think, oh, I wish I could enjoy Easter more. Well, I thought, okay, I'm just going to write a little poem about that. And it came to me so quickly. I'm going to just share it with you here. Easter lasts for 50 days. Easter lasts for 50 days, till Pentecost, when fire displays the Holy Spirit's mighty power upon saints fell that 9th great hour. That was the book of Acts. These days of springtime, flower and grace, when Jesus walked and showed his face, to prove his resurrection true, his pierced hands to chosen few. He sent them forth to tell good news to all the world, Gentiles and Jews, to call all men to follow him, forsake their sin, find peace within. He healed the sick, made blind to see, raised dead to life, set captive free, gave joy for sorrow, love for hate, hope for tomorrow. This man of sorrows showed the way to walk in kindness day by day, to speak such gracious words of life, to bring an end to evil strife. He's knocking at our hearts today. He gently says, this is the way. If you will open, he'll come in and cleanse away each stain and sin. He promised to come back again, to take us to his heavenly home. Wait, it flipped on me. And I don't know it by heart, so let's go back. To take it from his heavenly home. I gotta find it here. I have so many now, it's unbelievable. Okay. He promised to come back again to take us to our heavenly home, to live with him in perfect peace, in mansion fair, all trouble cease. And I could say all sorrows cease. Well, it's really been fun writing poetry. And this morning I came downstairs. It was 6 o'clock. I heard the birds singing, and they sing at 6 at my house, and I heard them singing. And because I came early, I saw the sun peeking, and this is a little baby poem I wrote. I see you peeking out behind the trees, your color subtle, purple mysteries. The birds are singing, sweet spring abounds, a new day rising, pinkish clouds surround. And I called that a spring song. And here's the picture, if you can see, that greeted me. I could try to make it, let's see, oh, there. That's the picture that greeted me when I woke up. And do you know, God's pictures only last 5 minutes. This will give us an insight into the character of God. He is so extravagant. He is not like us. He is like no other. He will put this display on even if no one is watching. You know, there's always the question, when you're up in the high mountains and a tree falls and there's no one there to hear it, does it make a sound? Well, I'm sure it does. And I've been so struck with a sunrise because it will last at the most 10 minutes and it'll change totally. It may go into another form of beauty, but it's always changing. And, you know, this is a real insight into the abundant, extravagant, colorful God we serve. He is not living in the black and white. No, it's color everywhere, and especially this time of year. So he's telling us without speaking. King David talked about that. He said, when I consider the heavens, the works of your fingers, what is man that you are mindful of him, or the son of man that you visit him? Well, he was speaking of the stars. And the most, in the Middle East, and in a desert setting where there's no electric lights, the stars and all the constellations are so clear. David would have seen Orion and the Pleiades. He would have seen it all, actually almost as a circle. There are some places where we live, we see part of it, and then when we were in Southern California, which really isn't that far, 1,500 miles, I guess, going south, a whole nother level of the constellations we could see because the Earth is on the curve. And my husband has much better understanding of spotting the stars, and he goes, there's the Pleiades. And it was so beautiful and clear in Southern California at the beach, because you didn't have any electric lights or a city competing. You're just getting the full glory of the wonderful stars. And as our days lengthen and the constellations change, it's a wonderful time in the summer to stargaze and to go out at night. It's warm enough to see them. And at certain times here, we also get like the northern lights. I know that in Norway, you will have this gorgeous, up in the north, the green and the blue and the, oh my goodness, in the summer. We have had that on occasion here. And you have to know it's coming, and you have to be willing to get up in the middle of the night to see it. But it's so beautiful, and it's so worth it. Well, I was looking around and I found this other little baby, just this little baby teapot I thought was so sweet. And it has just that wonderful, the dogwood flower. The dogwood flower is just so beautiful. And people believe that the cross was made out of the dogwood. I don't know if that's true or not. There it is. I like that. And then, the spring is a romantic time of year. The romantic poets. And this is so beautiful. This is a plate I had. I thought I'm going to show on the Tea Talk. I found this upstairs. It was holding my jewelry. And I thought, well, I need to bring that to the Tea Talk. It's that scene, and I always think of Lord Byron and Shelley and Keats and the romantic Victorian poets that would go over to Italy and live and write their poems. And they were so into nature. That was that whole going back to nature and seeing the beauty of nature and writing about it. And I love Lord Byron's poems. They're just absolutely, they're so romantic and filled with love, beauty. Well, what have you been up to this week? After Easter, it seems like everyone I talked to had wonderful Easter gatherings with family and friends. And so everyone appreciates every connected gathering after the 2.5 years of the lockup, right? Well, on Saturday, I was invited to my friend Patricia's antique mall there in downtown Olympia, and they had the most beautiful celebration. They had a lady that is part of them that did the catering, and the decorations in that shop, they're all artists and they all love color, and it was pink and all the wonderful spring colors everywhere. It was just enchanting, and it was pouring down rain, but it was all inside. It was just perfect. And so events are starting to happen, and we have a farmer's market I want to go down to. And I also wanted to tell anyone that lives near Olympia, next Saturday, the 15th, this coming Saturday, is the big Norwegian festival they're having. Wonderful. It's called Norway Day, and it includes Finland and Sweden and even other ethnic countries. Wonderful singing and dancing, and people wear their costumes, and outside the men are there with a lot of Viking axes and outfits and, showing the different sports of the Vikings. And it's a one day, and there's parking. It's not that huge. It's not that overwhelming. I like living in a smaller community. Yes. Well, I want to encourage any of you that have poetic desire or writing to think about writing poems. Sometimes it just takes a line will come to me, and then I just add, and it all flows out. And it's really fun. I had honestly forgotten. I used to write when I was young. I wrote a lot of songs. And then I went through a time where I wasn't writing, and I thought, that's just for my younger days. But now it's coming back, and I love it. So I encourage you to use that creative gift you have. And I'm wearing pink. I love this necklace. It's 3 pink roses. And it's, of course, kind of a plastic, but I love it. And I have my Easter cross on still with my dangles. And pink shawl. I love pink and black. And I have a couple of people that really like handbags and purses. So this is one of my favorite special purses that I have used for Easter many times over the years. And it's pink pattern with black pattern. And I just think it is classic. It reminds me kind of Audrey Hepburn in that era. And it's called Angelina. And I just love this little purse. And a little purse like this just can add that spot of color. And I was going to say that I remember there was a time when I was young when pattern, every color of pattern was, we see white pattern, black pattern, and then they had blue pattern and pink pattern and yellow pattern. And it was a spring delight. And my friend had navy blue pattern. I had a powdery blue pattern pair of shoes and a purse. This is going way, way back. And I always loved that. And when I was a very little girl, I had the black pattern shoes that we all had. And it was real leather. They were from Italy, the real leather pattern. And my youngest daughter, Elizabeth, she's going to be 27 this month. So that's that many years ago. It would have been about 25 years ago because she was 2. And I took her to Nordstrom's to get a pair of shoes. And I think that was the last of the Italian leather. I got her a little pair of red patent shoes she loved. And they were so darling. I still have them. Made in Italy. And then in a few years I went back and nothing was made in Italy, no more. I mean, they weren't getting those imports. And so if you ever see a real Italian leather purse or a real Italian leather pair of shoes, that's very special. They were always considered the highest. And I think I've told you years and years ago, I worked at Frederick and Nelson's downtown briefly one Christmas in the handbags. Well, that store was probably the closest you would get would be like Harrods in London or Marshall Fields in New York. It had everything. I think it actually had 13 floors and 7 restaurants, and each was different. They had a tea room where they had fashion shows every Wednesday, and ladies would come dressed in hat and gloves, and it was linen and silver. And then they had a fish restaurant where a lot of men would go at lunch, downtown businessmen. Well, the departments, if you go online, Frederick and Nelson's, you can do a virtual tour. It's hard to even comprehend this. They had a whole floor of antiques. They had actual art shows there. And they would do themes. Well, they had a small Italian leather shoe for ladies upstairs by the finest millinery, which is hats and dresses. And I remember when I worked there, I walked in and that leather, oh, that wonderful smell just took you over, and people would maybe buy one pair of shoes and keep them forever. I mean, they were probably very expensive, but they were life investment because the Italian shoes were so well made. And I remember going to Italy when I was young. My very first trip abroad, we ended up in Rome. And I remember looking out the bus window. We were on a tour from my college. And I had never, ever in my life seen so many well-dressed people. And the thing that hit me, and I was very young, was everyone was wearing something different. It wasn't this cookie cutter, buying the clothes at Costco or buying the clothes at REI. No, everyone had like a tweed overcoat. You've seen James Bond movies. It was dressed like that. I mean, and the cars. Oh my goodness, the Italian cars. Now, when you got to know the people in Italy, they probably had one coat and one purse and one pair of shoes, but they were very high level. And then they would switch out scarves and make them unique. And they were often tailor-made suits. And that same trip, when I ended up in London, I wanted to buy some wool and some tweed, and I ended up in a shop and bought some tweed. And it was a tailor shop, and it was all men that would come and help you, and they had around their neck a measuring tape because they were going to measure. But they measured me out some tweed, beautiful, beautiful tweed, and some plaid. And I just remember this experience. People would literally, in London at that time, all the men had tailored suits and all the men dressed up. And I would, a couple years later, I lived in London and I'd ride the train every day. And I was like the only girl on the train. This is in the 1970s. The women were still home with their children. And the men would all just dress three-piece suits, pinstriped, hat, gloves, scarf, overcoat, and had their newspaper. And you could hear a pin drop on that train. No one talked. It was just an understanding. Everyone had their space. It was morning. Everyone wanted privacy. And in those days, no one would think of carrying a cup of coffee on the train. That was unheard of. If you had a cup of tea or coffee, you went in and sat down, or you went to a place where maybe you stood up, but you drank it in the actual coffee shop. It's a different world. It was much more formal. But I just remember, as I was always so interested in the clothing and the design, and I was always struck with each one was different, the unique originality. And I found that I have a great aunt, Susan. Of course, I never met her because she would have come from Scotland to Canada with her family. She was the sister of my grandmother, Jessie. So they would have come turn of the century. Well, then they lived in upstate New York, Utica. And I was told that she worked for the milliner shop, which was a hat shop. And then she would come home every day for lunch and wear a different hat. And it was very fun. Hats were really important. They were so important that you actually had hat shops. Isn't that interesting? And people would have a special hat made for a special outfit. Now, I just find that fascinating. And my grandfather, who was a designer of tartans, and he designed for woolen mills. He designed cloth, like tweed. He would sit at his desk and he would show what colors would go in the weaves. He was the head of the woolen mills. That's how they came here. He had won prizes from the London School of Design that he graduated from, even though he was Scottish. And then, so he was called to Canada first, and then went down to the Utica, New York area and worked in the woolen industry there. And I recently looked it up, and all those woolen mills were closed in the late 1980s, and I think it's when everything went, outsourced to other countries, China. So the woolen mills don't exist anymore, but that's what everything was designed, because you don't just get a piece of tweed. Someone has thought through what colors they want to put in to create the tweed or the plaid or the fabric. It's never a flat color. It's always a blend. And I know when I was in Scotland, I remember so clearly driving or riding on the train and looking out at the earth, and it was so much color. It looked like a tweed suit. And I thought, aha, that's where they get their ideas. Nature is the teacher. And that's why in African countries where they have these beautiful, bold colors, they'll have the bold fabric, the beautiful colors like magenta and the chartreuse and the bright yellow and the bright orange, or Hawaii, the same. So we really learn from nature. And obviously, green and blue are the most common colors in nature, aren't they? The blue sky and the green trees. And mix it together, you get aqua. And so those are real foundational colors. But when you have those colors, it's nice to add a spark, a bright touch. Well, I hope you're having a nice week. And I really encourage you to be creative. Maybe you want to write a book about your life story. It all starts with just one sentence. Pick up your pen, paper, and like I told you last time, you can text it into an email on your phone and then correct it, and it will be a beginning. A beginning is the most important thing. Everything has a beginning. Well, I hope you have a wonderful week, and I am thinking so much about, we're coming almost into May. Remember, April showers bring May flowers. And that is why there's a price to pay for the beautiful flowers we have. So don't mind the sprinkles, and this gentle rain this time of year, it's not so bad. So have your tea, share with a friend, do a good deed. Say something kind to someone today, and you will be so happy. Thank you. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. Push the notification bell. And if you've enjoyed it, the like button. I appreciate that. And share with a friend. Okay, thank you so much for joining me. And God bless. Have a wonderful week.